Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another exciting episode. And today's video is about different ways on how we can actually connect Raspberry Pi 5 without having a separate monitor, separate keyboard, and a separate mouse just for the Pi. We'll look into ways of just using the Pi's shell to just run something on the Pi, and then also how to use the GUI interface of the Pi to have a full desktop experience. But before we actually start learning these ways, we'll have to have an operating system installed on your Pi. For that, you can look at this other video of mine where we have covered that. But if you already have an OS installed on your Pi, then we can get started right away. Just keep your username, hostname, and password handy because we'll be requiring it at all the other steps. So with that said, with this context set, let's just get started. Alright, so the very first way is to use your Raspberry Pi via SSH. Now, considering you already have installed a Raspberry Pi operating system on your Pi, and when you were installing this, you had enabled SSH, and you also know your username, password, and your hostname, you could just open any terminal on your machine, be it Windows or be it Mac, and just type SSH, your username, and your hostname, and then hit enter. And then it will ask you for the password. So you can just enter your password, and you are now inside your Raspberry Pi. So this is the very first way where you can actually log in. Now, once you are inside your Pi, you can actually also look for your IP address directly from this. For that, you just have to write hostname hyphen capital I, and then you'll be able to figure out your Pi's IP address, in my case, which is this. So this much we have already done a few times in my previous videos. So we were quite aware of this. Now let's move ahead with the second way, that is using the VNC viewer on the Raspberry Pi. So for that, you will have to first enable the VNC option on your Pi. And how do we do that? We write sudo raspi config, hit enter, and then you will get this set of options over here. One of them will say interface options. You will have to come down to that place and hit enter over there. And then you will see this VNC, enter again. And then over here, would you like the VNC server to be enabled? And I'm going to say yes to it. Now it has created the symlink and the VNC server is now enabled. Just hit enter again and you can now hit finish. And we are back on the terminal now. We have been clear it because this is ghosty. The normal terminal commands are not identified. So I'll have to run this command export term is equal to xterm 256 color. And then now if I write clear, it should be able to identify. So you don't really have to do this step if you are not using ghosty. If you're on some other terminal, you don't really need to do this. All right, so let's come back and let's move ahead with the VNC thing. So now my VNC server is running on the Pi and I need a VNC client. So the client that we are going to use today is the Tiger VNC client. Just search for Tiger VNC on Google and hit the first link that you should get. And over here, come to this official GitHub release page. And over here, you will see there is a link for SourceForge from where we can actually download the Tiger VNC. Now I'm doing this on a Mac machine, so I would need DMG file, and which is this. If you are on a Windows machine, you can very well download an executable. I'm going to hit that, and it should start the download somewhere. So it has now finally started the download. The download is done. Let me open that. After I double click on the DMG, I get this. So I'm going to open this Tiger VNC, and over here I'm going to enter my hostname, Raspberry Pi. And once I've done that, I'm going to hit connect. It will ask me for my username and password, and it's better to check this key password for reconnect. I'm going to hit OK, and I am now inside my Raspberry Pi. And this is the full GUI experience that we can have using the Tiger VNC. Now you can do a couple of things. You can click on this Wi-Fi symbol over here, and you can see that you are connected to this Wi-Fi of yours, whatever Wi-Fi is connected to. And you can also see your IP address over here. Also, you would want to go to this Pi symbol over here and then come to this preferences, open control center. And now you would be able to see your host name. You will be able to change your host name, your password, and whatever the booting options you want to select. And then there is this interface options where you could actually see that you have enabled SSH, you have enabled VNC, and a few hardware interfaces also you would be able to see over here. So this is it about how you can actually connect your Raspberry Pi from your machine without having a separate keyboard, mouse, and monitor specifically for the Pi. Now I'm using the same monitor, and this same monitor is also running my Mac. It is also displaying my Mac. I'm using the same keyboard and mouse as I would have otherwise was using for my Mac. Now, the next method is using the Raspberry Pi Connect. Now, this is something that Raspberry Pi has officially given out, and using this method, we can actually control or connect to our Pi from anywhere in the world without actually being, our Pi connected to the same network. So, now for that, in order to connect to your Pi using the Raspberry Pi Connect, you will first have to have an account on the Raspberry Pi Connect website. And so for that, you'll have to come to this place, come to this website called raspberrypi.com software/connect. And over here, you will have to create an account. Now, I also do not have an account right now, so I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it now. Come to this website and then access sign in. And it says connect with a Raspberry, sign in with the Raspberry Pi ID. Or if you don't have one, you can create one for free. So I'm going to hit this link, create one for free, and I'm going to enter my email and password and everything else that it is asking for. Let's just do that I'm a human. Hit continue. So it needs at least 8 characters. Okay. And now I'm going to hit continue. So it says your password is not very safe. I'll have to use a different one to choose that I'm a human and fill this. Please drag the icon to the correct empty space to complete. Save this. Now it has sent me a confirmation link. Please click inside to confirm your reach. The page will update. I'm going to do this. All right, so now I'm inside the Raspberry Pi account thing. If you want, you can, edit any of these things. All right, so now we have created a Raspberry Pi account, but that is not just enough as of now. Right now, it is not just enough. We'll also have to enable this Raspberry Pi Connect on our board and also register it with the Raspberry Pi servers. Now, how does this Raspberry Pi Connect works is you have your board, and then you have one server. As of now, I think they are just hosting one Raspberry Pi server, which is somewhere in London. And then you'll have to register your Raspberry Pi board with that server. Now, how do you do that? We already have the Tiger VNC running right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to this Raspberry Pi, this client, Tiger VNC client. And over here, you will see this little icon which says Raspberry Pi Connect. And over here, I'll have to turn on my Raspberry Pi Connect. And I'm going to hit this turn on. That should bring up the browser, and it will ask me to sign in with the Raspberry Pi ID. Now I'm going to hit this. I'm going to enter the same email which I used for creating the account and then enter the password. And I'm going to hit sign in. Now it is going to ask me if what device, the name of the device that I want to give it. I'm going to say Harshit's Pi 5. Create device and sign in. Okay, so the device sign in is successful. Your device has now has access to your account. If this was a mistake, do this. All right, so you'll remain signed in. So now my board is registered with the Raspberry Pi server. Now I can go to this. Now I can go to my Connect account over there, and I should be able to see the sessions that I have on. So it says I've got one session. Now, if I go back to my Connect account, I should be able to see one devices for that, for the Pi that I've just read. Let me go back and let me open Raspberry Pi Connect. And now I can see that I have got one of my devices. Now, there are two options that I could see here, screen sharing and remote share. Now, this Raspberry Pi Connect gives us two options. We can use the entire GUI thing and have a full desktop experience on the browser, or I can just access the remote share. So now I can choose one of these two options. Let us first try the remote shell. And over here we see that a new terminal has opened up. It is waiting for the response from my Pi. And yes, it is now connected to it. And let's see if it is actually able to list it out. So yes, I can actually see the files inside, the folders inside it. And if I go back to my Tiger VNC over here, and if I go to this place over here, I can see that I've got desktop document and all those kind of things. Let me add a new folder just to verify. I've added a new folder called Harshit over here. And if I go back, or let me minimize my Tiger VNC, and if I come back over here and I do analysis again, I can see that my folder is now listed over here. So that very well establishes that I'm able to connect to my Pi from my browser remotely. So let's close this and let's see if how the screen sharing works on the browser. I'm going to hit this. A new browser window has come up. It is again waiting for it, waiting for the board to respond. This might take a little while based on your internet connection. So let me close the Tiger VNC for now. You see this, it says that your screen is being shared. Let me close the Tiger VNC once. Let me disconnect it here and then let's connect again. Yeah. So it could have just one GUI session, that means. So now I'm able to access the Pi's screen. All right. So now this thing you can do from your tablet, from your phone, and from any other computer in the world. So this is really a very powerful way to connect to your Raspberry Pi 5, or for that matter, any Raspberry Pi. So in order to connect to your Pi using this Raspberry Pi Connect feature, you don't really also need to remember or know your Pi's IP address. You also don't need to bother if you are inside your Wi-Fi's network or if you are outside your Wi-Fi's network. You still will be able to connect to your Pi. So it is a very strong feature and I urge you to please experiment it once. Alright guys, so this is it for this video. If you like the video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. This channel is entirely supported by viewers like you. So please show your support, please subscribe the channel, and you have a very good rest of your day. I'll see you in the next one, but until then, stay awesome.